Hello and welcome to our podcast or YouTube, wherever you're seeing this. My name is Kathleen Miner, founder of Hopefull Handbags Global, and I am here with the amazing Miss Sophia Norley, who is an author in general, which we'll talk some about that, but also in our book called The Handbags. And Sophia, I love everything you do, and I love your stories, and I love the way you write things. So welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Oh, it's always lovely to see your face.
Well, and I feel the same way. So now we're going to talk again because we do a lot of talking. So let's just jump right in. Right, your story is it's tough to read in spots, but it's just things that you've gone through. And it's inspiring because you've made it out the other side with some amazing things that you're doing now. And the first question is, you described ways that when you were in an abusive situation in your relationship where the abuser eroded away at your self-esteem for over 18 years. Looking back, do you see any red flags that you might have missed? And what advice might you give others for recognizing them?
There were red flags right on the very first moment.
Okay.
But I chose to ignore them.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely there was red flags, controlling, dealing with his own issues, stuff like that, right from the very get-go. Little ones, just little ones that in the grand scheme of things, you'd probably, nothing, or, oh, that's sweet. That's sweet. He would be with you all the time. That's sweet. He cares that much. But actually, when you look back and you've got context to the situation, hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? But actually, it's pretty useless. You can't go back and change time. But yeah, there was, I'd be places and he would with friends and he would just turn up, know where I am. So that was before kind of we had Facebook and stuff like that, which back then friends would say, oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah, he cares about you and he just wants to make sure you're okay. He just has a hard time being away from you.
Yeah. So, yeah, there was stuff like that straight away. Sort of not telling the whole truth in situations where you kind of like, oh, it's not such a big deal. All them little things that are niggly, but not such a big deal. But in the end, they are a big deal. And it's normally those little things that break the camel's back. That's the thing, like, right, I can't take anymore. So yeah, definitely lots of red flags. I would say I didn't really know what a red flag was 20 years ago. If someone had spoken to me about that, I would not know what they were talking about. Luckily, we've moved on a lot, and I know it's a conversation that is had not enough in schools and sort of with youngsters in relationships, but it is a conversation that is being had. Whether or not people are taking notice of it, I don't know really, because I've sat and had conversations and I've thought, oh, red flag. And then think, is that just me thinking that? But it's not, We kind of like to see the nice, don't we?
Well, and I think too, it's hard for people to separate out, like you said. I mean, it seems really nice because some people do nice things and they actually might show up to bring you a coffee because they know that you like this coffee and they're in the area. However, if everywhere you go, they're showing up to check in on you and make sure, or I guess this day and age, like you said, back then there weren't cell phones, but this day and age, always checking the other person's cell phone or always, things like that. I guess maybe that would be different. But I do think people listen, but I think they have a hard time separating that out. And like you said, we want to look at what's the best in people, right? Like, especially if we love them, if we feel like they're loving us and they're giving us their best,
Exactly.
I mean,
and a part of being in love is letting we think is kind of letting some of those niggles go, because no one's perfect. That age of no one's perfect. It's do you want better the devil you know kind of thing? You could leave that person and something else, and you don't. It's little sayings like that that also wear you down and sort of
Right.
erode any sense in your brain, because you're like, oh yeah, okay, and it's not
So,
until you get to the end and you look back and think, wow, I cannot believe that I was that naive, really.
and I think in those situations, tell me, like, were there people that were telling you that this might be unhealthy? Because I think people from the outside who really care about you and can tell before you can, right? Meaning you, people in those situations, people in an abusive situation, whether it's physical or mental or financial. And there's that side of it. So what was your thoughts on that? Did anybody try to? But then again, usually when you're in situations like that, you become isolated so the people don't know what's going on. So what do
I
you
think
think about
it's
that?
more the latter. I would have people. We had a very small circle,
Mm-hmm.
but everyone loved him. Isn't he lovely? Oh, he loves you
Mm-hmm.
so much. He's so in love with you. Things like that. And I rarely took problems anywhere else. And when I started towards the end, comments would be made sort of like, oh, well, he might have done that because of this or this. Kind of not excuses, but trying to be pragmatic and look at the other side rather than just saying, oh, yeah, you're right. So
Right.
I never had any of that. No one ever said, you should leave. This is happening. That is happening. And in fact, when I did leave, some of my friends were shocked. Were like, oh, did that really happen? It's said quite often to people that come out the other side. Did that really happen? I can't believe it. I can't believe he did that.
Right. Because they're very good manipulators.
Okay. Yeah.
I will say one thing that I've seen through Hopeful Handbags is that all abusers, no matter what kind of way they're abusing, are very good manipulators for the outside world. They are shiny. They look very shiny.
Yeah. And that's part of the control, because control is the biggest sort of sugar rush for them. So it doesn't matter who they control. As long as they're getting that rush, it's perfect.
Right.
Absolutely perfect. Yeah. Yes. So no, I didn't get a lot of that at all.
Okay. No, that's good to know, because if you're in it now and you're not getting that from the outside for whatever reason, there are multiple reasons why you may not be. Not that you're still in a relationship that is not healthy. I always felt like, and what do you think about this? The person that you're with should be bringing out the best in you. And if they're not, to rethink that. That's one thing that I was always taught when I was younger.
Yeah.
And it's always stuck with me. What do you think about that?
Yeah, definitely. They've got to add to your life, not take away from it. Doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't have to add a lot. Doesn't have to be materialistic. But there needs to be addition rather than subtraction. And that's to us as well as people. If we're becoming less,
right.
It's not right.
Right. Are you becoming the best version of yourself, or are you not?
Yeah.
And if you're not, if you're listening to this right now and you are not the best version of yourself, take a look around, see who you're choosing to spend time with.
Yeah.
And you need to start, weeding. And I say choosing because we have family, there's sometimes families may be up and down and things like that. And that's a whole nother situation. But when it comes to relationships that you choose to have outside of everything, you've got to rethink that stuff.
And I think that was a bit of a turning point for me, because I started to not like, my self-esteem was low anyway. Like, it was rock bottom. There was none. However, I started to do things that weren't me and I didn't like, even to thoughts, to actions. And I started to think, wow, I don't like me anymore. I really don't like this person I'm becoming, and where's that going? So that's when I started to question what was going on. Why am I being like that? Why am I having these thoughts? That kind of thing. Then I realized you know, when someone's drip feeding you poison, you become poison. You do.
Well, you do, right? I mean, it's going in your system. You're taking it in. I mean, you got to get it out or stop taking it in. So it'll wash itself out over time, or else you're done. Like you're done. So you do talk about, you say you'll never make it without me. And it seems like it haunted you. So how did you ultimately break free from that belief to try to prove it wrong?
Okay, so they were the very last words that were spoken to me. The very last words. And I did break. And I thought that when he went, me and my children would all be happy. It'd be perfect. Well, I continued on being naive because I didn't realize actually all of what I'd been carrying just attacked my body, attacked my mind. I completely had a breakdown. Completely. I was at the bottom of the bottom. And I have no fear in saying that there was a possibility of me not being sat here today because I was that low. Thank goodness. I mean, I've always been quite stubborn, but I have to say that I've got two beautiful daughters that are my rock and full of sensible ideas and support and stuff like that. And I had a lot of female friends around. Well, I developed female friends from that point that bolstered me up on the days where I thought, I'm not going to make it to the end. I'm not going to make it to the end of the day. I cannot do this. And it was through people supporting me. And I suppose wiping the mud out of my eyes, I felt like I was constantly walking around, not seeing, not feeling, not hearing. I just was there. You know, that old saying of I drove somewhere and I didn't know how I got there. I think I probably spent 2.5 years like that, not knowing how I got to the end of the day. And it was only through my good friends, you being one of them, that helped me get to where I am now. We're still not out, we're still pushing through, but we're nearly there. We're nearly there. So I think it's just having that hope, isn't it, that a better day's coming. And, you know, that just because this person said something doesn't mean it's going to be the case. That's their story, not my story. My story is completely different. You know,
that's absolutely right.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So you also talk about after leaving, you know, rebuilding, right? Because you know, still it's the abuser was still making things a little bit hard on life. So between that and you having to rebuild your self-esteem, how was that? How did that work? Was that hard for you to get through that journey? Because did you always feel like, oh gosh, they're controlling something again, and you having to feel like you're like rebuilding again each time? I mean, how did you get through that?
I will not lie, it has been an uphill, and you know it, it's been an uphill struggle, and it has been pretty constant. And the control has continued 5 years on. We're still battling to come to the end of it. And probably up until this time last year, I was still in that mindset of, oh, come on, not one more hurdle, come on. And sort of falling back to, I can't do this. Very, very briefly, I'd thought might be an hour. Oh, I can't do this. That's it. I'm giving up. Now we've still got things coming up. We've still got a hurdle to go. But now I just am blessed with every day. I love it. I love every day. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes I sit and I think, oh, this has been such a long battle. Why? What? It didn't need to happen. But maybe it did. Maybe I needed to learn a little bit of patience, learn how resilient I really am and strong I really am, how strong my girls are, because they have been formidable in this whole process. So I think I've just built on every day. Every day got better.
Yeah. And it is getting better because that's the way you're going. You're not
Yeah.
going the other way. You're going that way.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I feel with everybody listening as well, to remind everybody that when you start to recognize that you're starting to get negative again, that's actually, you're over halfway there.
Mm.
You're over halfway to positive, because
Mm.
most people don't even recognize it. They just stay stuck. And that's something that you have not done.
No.
In the past little while, past
Yeah.
couple of, I say little while, this is going on for years,
Yeah.
but the past years,
In the grand scheme, it's little.
yeah, is that you recognize it and you don't stay there anymore. And I think that's important for people, right? I mean, that's what you have to do to move forward.
Yeah, and not because I see this as a win or lose situation, because it's not. I don't see it as that. I just want to live my life. That's it.
Right.
But I kind of think to myself, he's had so much from me and my children. It's not going to have my emotions as well.
That's
not
right.
anymore.
Done.
You had that. You messed it up. You're not privy to that anymore. You know, we would just carry on. And when I sit with my kids and they say things like, wow, it's so nice to have a Christmas without a drama, I sit and I think, yeah.
That's why you did it. That's brilliant. Another reason. Right. Brilliant. Yeah. Right.
You know, so that there's, like I said, there's no losers, there's no winners. But for me, that's a win. When they say simple things like that, it's lovely.
So you have had Hopefull Handbags in some of your journey, and now you help other women. So how does that make you feel, just in general, that you're so inspirational, not only through Hopefull Handbags, but through the books that you've written, just sharing some of your story from childhood, because you also have some childhood stories. And so, but as a person and your self-confidence and looking back and saying, gosh, I went through that, but now I'm helping with this. How does that feel?
It feels, it feels, even though sort of you're trying to help other people and empower other people, it empowers me. It makes me feel like all the things that I've been through were for a reason, you know? And I feel strongly that we all have different stories to share. It doesn't matter what it is, but by sharing them, we're helping others and we're helping those. I always think of the little girl I was, a little girl sat on a bed listening to domestic abuse, all other kinds of things, crying in the dark, and I share my story in the hope of helping the little girl that's still sitting there, or the mum, like I was. I spent a month trying to work out how to kill myself without hurting my kids, crazy as that sounds, but by sharing and helping and supporting, hopefully I can help a mum who's also in that place. And it's so important, you know, we travel these paths and it would be wrong not to share them. You know, for me, but also for others. You know, it's a two-way thing, isn't it? When you give, you receive.
Absolutely. When you give, you do receive.
Yeah.
And so you've written Escaping Bohemia, which is an amazing book. Everybody, you can purchase that through the Hopefull Handbags global website. And it's with the donation price of the book. Basically, you buy the book, which you're really donating to Hopefull Handbags to help more survivors and their children, and you get the book. That's the way it's happened. But you also are working on a children's book. Can you just tell us a little bit about that and what we can expect from that book?
So, I am working on a children's book, which has been slightly slower than I anticipated with everything else going on, but never mind. It will be a series, and it is to help the little children that are stuck listening to what's going on around them with the adults. They're very magical stories. It only can't think of the word, funny enough, but it only alludes to any upset.
Yeah, right.
Yes, it very, very brief. Yeah, sort of line, but it's definite what's going on. And then the little girl goes on some magical journeys and meets different magical creatures who help her build her self-esteem, her self-perception, to get her through what's, home life. And that basically was how I got through it. My imagination was always a little bit full. I was always going on adventures in my imagination. So basically that's what those stories will be. And I cannot wait, because I think it's so important to empower the younger generation to know that, okay, this is going on now, but things are going to get better, and things are going to get better because you are so powerful and so special. So, yeah, I'm really excited about that. I just need more time.
What is the name of the book?
The first one will be Sophie Sees Stars.
Okay,
yeah,
perfect.
that will be the first one, and then there'll be other ones after. So,
and
yeah.
I've had the pleasure of reading this book beforehand. Also had a sneak peek in illustrations, and it is absolutely amazing. And I do like the way that you have it as such a hopeful journey. And so really any kid can read this. It's not really just somebody who's dealing with abuse that's happening at their house. Like, if you know it, you know it, but you don't know it. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you're reading the book, or your child's reading the book, or my grandkids are reading the book, and they luckily don't deal with any kind of abuse in their home, then they're going to really get a lot of the story because of the imagination and helping them, like, just be imaginative, because that's what we want kids to be. And quite honestly, as adults, we should be doing that more often too. When I call the go-to vision, oh gosh, I'm getting ready to get into a whole nother subject here that we're talking about. But
I mean, the main bit of the story is that we all have something special inside us,
right?
And we just need to unlock it and believe in it. So
yeah, we all have that inside of us. So those of us that are reading it to our smaller children or grandchildren will get some stuff from the book too. So just take a look out for that. That's going to be available on the Hopefull Handbag shop and many other places coming soon. Is there anything else you want to share with us today, Sophia?
I don't think so. I think we've covered it all. I mean, I'm just excited to be part of this project. I mean, Hopefull Handbags is phenomenal, and there are so many people out there that need the support from you guys, and it's wonderful that I can be part of it. Really, I feel very, very blessed.
Yeah, well, you're a big part of it, and we really appreciate all of that. And everybody, you're going to want to read Sophia's full story. I say full story. It's a chapter. There's so much more to come that Sophia has going. But the book is called Handbags. You can go to our website, hopefullhandbags.org. That's hopeful with 2 L's, like full of hope. Hopefullhandbags.org. Go to the tab that says Handbags, which is the book. It says Handbags. And you can click on Sophia's picture or her name, and it will go to a bio page, and you'll be able to find out any other information or links or anything to what Sophia's doing. So you can contact her there. Please go over there, and you can pre-order the digital copy, so you can do that today. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of the day. Thank you so much, Sophia, for being here, and we will see you all soon.
Thank you.